ሰላም ወደ ማትስ አካዳሚ ቲዩብ ቤተሰቦች እና ሌሎቻችሁም ይሄን ቪዲዮ ያያችሁ ላላችሁ በዚህ ቪዲዮ ይዤላችሁ የቀረብኩት ዩኒት 2 ወይም ፓወር ሲሪስን በተመለከተ ከተዘጋጀው ወርክሺት ላይ የአራተኛው ጥያቄ መልስ ነው። አብራችሁን ቆዩ። So number 4 it says find the radius of convergence and the interval of convergence of the power series. Okay, እዚህ አራተኛው ጥያቄ ውስጥ የተጠየቅነው radius of convergence and interval of convergence of the power series ነው የተጠየቅነው። So let's start from A part. የኤም part በመጀመሪያ ላሳያችሁ። So in A part the power series is n starting from 1 up to infinity minus 1 the power of n over n cube times x the power of n. This is our power series. So usually we use either ratio test or root test to determine the radius of convergence and interval of convergence. Okay, so ብዙ ጊዜ የምንጠቀመው ratio test ወይንም root test ነው radius of convergence ወይንም interval of convergence and calculate ለማድረግ ሁለቱንም calculate ለማድረግ so let's say let our an is the nth term is minus 1 the power of n times x the power of n over n cube ይሄ ቢሆን nth termችን the next term that comes after the nth term becomes minus 1 the power of n plus 1 minus 1 the power of n plus 1 times x the power of n plus 1 over n plus 1 the whole cube ይሆናል። So አሁን ratio test እንጠቀማለን። So using the ratio test we evaluate the limit of the n plus 1's term over the n's term as n approaches to infinity. This is the same as the limit of in the absolute value minus 1 the power of n plus 1 times x the power of n plus 1 over n plus 1 the whole cube over x minus 1 the power of n times x the power of n over n cube as n approaches to infinity. Okay, ይሄንን rewrite ማድረግና simplify ማድረግ ያስፈልጋል. So this becomes the limit of minus x times n cube over n plus 1 the whole cube ይሆናል ማለት ነው as n approaches to infinity. Okay, ይሄንን expression እዚህ ጋር ያለውን expression absolute value ውስጥ ያለውን expression simplify ስናደርግ እዚህ ጋር ያለውን እናገኛለን። So this is equivalent to the absolute value of x times the limit of n cube over n plus 1 the whole cube ይሆናል as n approaches to infinity. So here term 1 ነው የሚሆነው. Therefore this limit becomes absolute value of x. Okay, so ይሄን ratio test apply ስናደርግ ያገኘነው limit absolute value of x ነው. So this tells us this power series n starting from 1 up to infinity minus 1 the power of n x the power of n over n cube ይሄ converge የሚያደርገው this power series converges for absolute value of x እዚች ጋር ያገኘነው this absolute value of x if this is less than 1 this power series converges. Okay, so this implies the radius of convergence is 1. This implies the radius of convergence is 1. So ይሄ power series converge የሚያደርገው for x less than 1 for absolute value of x less than 1 ነው ብለናል። ያ ማለት x is an element of open interval minus 1 up to 1 ነው ማለት ነው። In this interval it's obvious this power series converges. What about at the end points? End pointoቹ ላይ ቼክ ማድረግ ግድ ይለናል። Okay, at -1 and at 1 check እናደርጋለን. So let's take the end points. So at x is equals to -1 ይሄ ፓወር ሲሪስ ምን ይሆናል? xን -1 ስናደርግ the given power series becomes power seriesአችን ምን ይሆናል? -1 the power of n plus 1 over n cube ነው የሚሆነው። Okay, so the only thing እዚች ጋር በx ቦታ -1 ማስገባት ነው። so ይሄንን power series እናገኛለን። So this power series is an alternating power series which is convergent by alternating series test. Okay, unit 1 ላይ የሰራሁትን ቪዲዮ ሄዳችሁ ማየት ትችላላችሁ ስለ convergence of different series using alternating series test የሰራሁትን ቪዲዮ በዚህ አጋጣሚ ሄዳችሁ እንድታዩ ጋብዛለሁኝ። For now at x is equals to -1 this power series or this series converges. It's convergent by alternating series test. Okay, so at -1 converge ያደርጋል ማለት ነው። So at the other end point x is equals to 1 ፓወር ሲሪሳችን ኮንቨርጅ ያደርጋል ወይስ አያደርግም? እንግዲህ በኤክስ ቦታ 1ን እናስገባለን። so the power series becomes n starting from 1 up to infinity -1 the power of n over n cube ነው የሚሆነው። so still this is convergent by alternating series test. so interval of convergenceአችን open interval መሆኑ ቀርቶ ምን ይሆናል ማለት ነው? closed interval ይሆናል ማለት ነው። so -1 up to 1 will be interval of convergence. okay, አሁን የቢን ፓርት እናያለን። ወደ ቢ ፓርት ስንመጣ ያለን power series the summation n starting from 1 up to infinity n times x the power of n the whole square. no, this is the power series. so as usual an ማን ነው ብለን ነው የምንነሳው? n times x the power of n the whole square ነው። so if this is our nth term the next term becomes n plus 1 times x the power of n plus 1 the whole square ይሆናል ማለት ነው። this is the n plus 1's term. so እንደተለመደው ሬሽዮ ቴስት እንጠቀማለን። the limit of the n plus 1's term over the n's term as n approaches to infinity ምን ይሆናል ማለት ነው? this is the limit of in the absolute value n plus 1 times x the power of n plus 1 the whole square over n times x the power of n the whole square as n approaches to infinity የዚህን ሊሚት ኢቫሉዌት እናደርጋለን። so ይሄንን ሲምፕሊፋይ ማድረግ ያስፈልጋል። okay, x the power of n plus 1 the whole square x the power of n the whole square simplify ስናደርግ x square ነው የምናገኘው። so the simplified form of this limit expression becomes the limit of the absolute value of x square as n approaches to infinity which is absolute value of x the whole square. okay, እንግዲህ ሬሽዮ ቴስት ስንጠቀም ያገኘነው ሊሚት ይሄ ነው። so the power series that we have in b ይሄ power series b ላይ ያለው power series converge የሚያደርገው መቼ ነው? this power series converges if the limit value or the absolute value of x square is less than 1. okay, so here ምን imply ያደርጋል? absolute value of x less than 1 መሆን ይጠበቅበታል። this implies x is an element of -1 up to 1. okay, እዚች ጋር የምንይዘው ነገር አለ። absolute value of x less than 1 this tells us the radius of convergence. አሁን radius of convergenceአችን ምንድነው ማለት ነው? 1 ነው ማለት ነው። Okay, radius of convergence አችንን አገኘን. The next thing we need to determine interval of convergence. Actually the power series converges in this interval. We need to also check at the endpoints. Okay, interval of convergence partially አግኝተናል, በከፊል አግኝተናል. የሚቀረን ነገር at the endpoints of the interval power series converge ያደርጋል ወይስ አያደርግም የሚለውን ነገር ቼክ ማድረግ ነው. So at x is equals to -1 at one of the endpoints xን -1 አድርገን ቀጥታ ፓወር ሲሪስ ውስጥ ማስገባት ነው. ኦኬ እዚህ ጋር በx ቦታ -1 ማስገባት ነው. So the given power series becomes at x is equals to -1, the given power series becomes n times -1 the power of n the whole square ማለት ነው. ይሄን ሪራይት ስናደርገው ምን ይሆናል? the power series becomes -1 the power of 2n times n square ነው የሚሆነው. -1 the power of 2n is always 1, so this power series becomes n square. Okay, the sum of n square, 1 square plus 2 square and so on. ይሄ divergent ነው. This is divergent. Okay, so at -1 the given power series is divergent. ስለዚህ interval of convergence ውስጥ አይካተትም ማለት ነው -1. What about x is equals to 1? At x is equals to 1 the power series becomes n times 1 the power of n the whole square, which is the summation n starting from 1 up to infinity n square ራሱ ይሆናል. Still this is also divergent. Okay, this is divergent series, therefore endpointoቹ አይካተቱም. So the interval of convergence is -1 open interval -1 up to 1. አሁን ወደ c part እንመጣለን. c ጋር ያለን power series is like k starting from 0 to infinity -1 the power of k times x the power of 2k over 9 the power of k. No, this is the power series. So from this the k's term ማውጣት ያስፈልጋል. ኢንዴክሱ በk ስለሆነ k's term እያልኩ ተጠቀማለሁ. So -1 the power of k times x the power of 2k over 9 the power of k is the k's term. So the next term that comes after the k's term is this one, -1 the power of k plus 1 times x the power of 2 times k plus 1 over 9 the power of k plus 1. Okay, so as usual I'm going to apply the limit of the k plus 1's term over the k's term as k approaches to infinity. Okay, so የዚህን ሊሚት ኢቫሉዌት እናደርጋለን. So this means the limit of -1 the power of k plus 1 times x the power of 2 into k plus 1 over 9 the power of k plus 1 times 9 the power of k over -1 the power of k times x the power of 2k ነው የሚሆነው as k approaches to infinity. Okay, ይሄንን እዚህ ጋር የተጠቀምኩትን ይሄን ሪስፕሮካል ነው የምወስደው ምክንያቱም a over b over c over d ብዬ ከምጽፍ a over b times d over c አርጌ መጻፍ እችላለሁ. እሱን ነው እዚህ ጋር አፕላይ ያደረኩት. So this limit becomes, simplifying this expression gives us the limit of the absolute value of x square over 9 as k approaches to infinity. Okay, እዚህ ኤክስፕሬሽን ውስጥ የሚጠፋፉትን አጠፋፍተን ሲምፕሊፋይ ስናደርግ absolute value of x square over 9 ነው የሚሆነው. This is exactly the same as absolute value of x over 3 the whole square ማለት ነው. Okay, እንደዚህ ልንጽፈው እንችላለን. Or you can simply write absolute value of x over 3 the whole square ይሆናል. Okay, ይሄን ሊሚት ኢቫሉዌት ስናደርግ ያገኘነው absolute value of x over 3 the whole square ይሄንን. So the given power series converges if the absolute value of x over 3 the whole square is less than 1. ይሄ ፓወር ሲሪስ ኮንቨርጅ የሚያደርገው ይሄ ኮንዲሽን happen ሲያደርግ ነው። So this happens whenever x is an element of -3 up to 3. Okay? So ይሄንን absolute value inequality solve ስታደርጉ የምታገኙት x is an element of -3 up to 3 የሚለውን So the radius of convergence for this power series will be 3. Radius of convergence አችን ምን ይሆናል ማለት ነው? 3 ነው የሚሆነው ማለት ነው። Okay? So the next thing is we need to determine the interval of convergence. Okay? ይሄ power series in open interval -3 up to 3 converge እንደሚያደርግ እናውቃለን። What about at the end points የሚለውንም ነገር ማየት ያስፈልጋል። at x is equals to -3 power series አችን የሚሆነው ምንድነው? the summation k starting from 0 to infinity -1 the power of k ነው የሚሆነው። okay you can check x and -3 አድርጉ እዚህ c ውስጥ ያለው power series ውስጥ so power series አችን ይሄንን ነው የሚሆነው so the sum of this infinite series ሊሆን የሚችለው ወይ 1 ነው ወይ -1 depending on k is even or odd. Okay? Similarly at x is equals to 3 we will get the power series becomes k starting from 0 to infinity ምንድነው የሚሆነው -1 the power of k. Okay? ይሄም the same result ነው የሚሰጠን ወይ 1 ነው ወይ -1 ነው የሚሆነው depending on k. ይሄ infinite terms ሲደመር ወይ 1 ወይ -1 ነው የሚሆነው so both are divergent. Okay? diverge ካደረገ ምን እንላለን ማለት ነው the interval of convergence for this power series is open interval -3 up to 3. አሁን የዲን ፓርት እናያለን። Okay, let's see the d part. ወደ d part ስንመጣ እዚህ power series ውስጥ the kth term is k over 6 the power of k times 2x plus 1 the whole k and the next term is the k plus 1's term is k plus 1 over 6 the power of k plus 1 times 2x plus 1 the whole k plus 1 ይሆናል። Okay, so we evaluate the limit of the k plus 1's term by the k's term as k approaches to infinity. ይሄንን ምን እናገኛለን? the limit of k plus 1 over 6 the power of k plus 1 times 2x plus 1 the whole k plus 1. Okay, over ብለን ከምንጽፍ we take the reciprocal then this becomes 6 the power of k over k times 1 over 2x plus 1 the whole k ይሆናል ማለት ነው as k approaches to infinity. Okay, ይህንን expression simplify ስናደርግ የምናገኘው this is the limit of k plus 1 over 6k times 2x plus 1 as k approaches to infinity ይሆናል ማለት ነው። Okay, እዚህ ጋር observe ማድረግ ያለብን as k approaches to infinity this term will be 1 over 6 so the given limit becomes the absolute value of 2x plus 1 over 6 ይሆናል ማለት ነው። Okay, so the given power series this power series k starting from 1 up to infinity k over 6 the power of k times 2x plus 1 the whole k converges. Okay, ይሄ power series converge የሚያደርገው ይሄ term less than 1 ሲሆን converges if the absolute value of 2x plus 1 over 6 is less than 1. ይሄ ነገር ሲሟላ ፓወር ሲሪሳችን ኮንቨርጅ ያደርጋል ማለት ነው። ኦኬ from this inequality we can see that the absolute value of 2x plus 1 is less than 6. Okay, so the radius of convergence will be 6. Okay, the radius of convergence 6 ይሆናል። እንደገና ይሄንን inequality solve እናደርጋለን። solving this inequality for x we get x is an element of minus 7 over 2 up to 5 over 2 or minus 7 over 2 is less than x less than 5 over 2 ማለት ነው። ይሄንን absolute value inequality solve ስናደርግ so interval of convergence አችን from minus 7 over 2 up to 5 over 2 ይሆንና ኢንድ ፖይንቶቹንም ቼክ እናደርጋለን ማለት ነው። ሶ በከፊል ይሄ ኢንተርቫል ኦፍ ኮንቨርጀንስ አችን ነው ብለን ለጊዜው እንወስዳለን። ኔክስት ኢንድ ፖይንቶቹ ላይ የሚኖረንን ኮንቨርጀንስ ቼክ እናደርጋለን። ሶ at one of the end points at x is equals to minus 7 over 2 ኦኬ እቺ minus 7 over 2 እዚህ ፓወር ሲሪስ ውስጥ ሰብስቲቱት ስናደርግ ይሄ ፓወር ሲሪስ ምን ይሆናል? k starting from 1 up to infinity minus 1 the power of k times k ነው የሚሆነው። this series diverges ይሄ series diverge ያደርጋል። again at the other end point at x is equals to 5 over 2 okay አሁንም የተሰጠን ፓወር ሲሪስ ውስጥ 5 over 2 እናስገባለን። 5 over 2 ስናስገባ የሚኖረን ፓወር ሲሪስ k starting from 1 up to infinity times infinity of k ይሆናል። still this series diverges ይሄም series diverge ያደርጋል ማለት ነው። so at the end points at minus 7 over 2 and at 5 over 2 diverge ስለሚያደርግ interval of convergence አችን end ፖይንቶቹን አያካትትም። therefore minus 7 over 2 up to 5 over 2 is the interval of convergence. okay ወደ e part እንምጣ። e ጋር ያለን ፓወር ሲሪስ ይሄ ነው። so the k's term or ak is x minus 1 the power of k over k plus 2 ነው። okay this implies the k plus 1's term is x minus 1 the power of k plus 1 over k plus 3 ይሆናል ማለት ነው። okay so እንደተለመደው we evaluate the limit of the k plus 1's term by the k's term as k approaches to infinity. so this means the limit of x minus 1 the power of k plus 1 over k plus 3 times k plus 2 over x minus 1 the power of k as k approaches to infinity ይሆናል ማለት ነው። ሪራይት እያደረኩኝ ነው ማስቀምጠው ይሄንን ኤክስፕሬሽን። okay so the simplification of this limit gives us the limit of k plus 2 over k plus 3 times x minus 1 ይሆናል as k approaches to infinity. okay so as k approaches to infinity this term will approaches to 1. so the limit will gives us absolute value of x minus 1. okay የዚህ limit absolute value of x minus 1 ሆነ ማለት ነው። so this implies the given power series k starting from 0 to infinity x minus 1 the power of k over k plus 2 converges whenever the absolute value of x minus 1 is less than 1. okay so this implies the radius of convergence for this power series is 1 and this inequality, solving this inequality we get x is between 0 and 2. here inequality true የሚሆነው for x between 0 and 2. so 0 to x is an element of 0 to 2 እንላለን። in this interval the power series converges. okay the next thing is we evaluate the power series, the convergence of the power series at the endpoints, at 0 and at 2. Okay, 0 na 2 substitute አድርገን series ምን እንደሚመስል ነው. So at x is equals to 0, the given power series is used 0 substitute አድርጉና power series ምን እንደሚመስል observe አድርጉ. Whenever we substitute 0 in the power series, it becomes minus 1 the power of k over k plus 2. Okay, here series demo convergent. No, this series is convergent by alternating series test. Okay, at the other endpoints, at x is equals to 2, the given power series, okay, x2 ሲሆን power series ምን ይመስላል? Okay, directly by x ቦታ 2 አስገቡ, it becomes 1 over k plus 2. This power series is divergent. ይሄ divergent series ነው ምክንያቱም the infinite sum of 1 over k plus 2 for k starting from 0 to infinity harmonic series ነው የሚሆነው. This is divergent, so 2 include አናደርግም, we only include 0, therefore closed interval in one end, open interval in the other end, so 0 to 2 is interval of convergence. So this is the interval of convergence for the power series in E. Okay, አሁን ደግሞ የኤፍን ፓርት ነኝ ወደ ኤፍ ስንመጣ we have the case term. The case term is pi the power of k times x minus 1 the power of 2k over 2k plus 1 factorial times x the power of 2k. Okay, this is the case term, and the next term becomes the k plus 1's term becomes pi the power of k plus 1 times x minus 1 the power of 2 into k plus 1 over 2 times k plus 1 plus 1 factorial times x the power of 2 into k plus 1 ይሆናል ማለት ነው. So ቀጣይ ስራችን ምንድነው የሚሆነው? We evaluate the limit of ak plus 1 over ak as k approaches to infinity. Okay, so ይሄ ምን ይሆናል ማለት ነው? The limit of in the absolute value pi the power of k plus 1 times x minus 1 the power of 2 into k plus 1 times x the power of 2 into k plus 1 over 2 into k plus 1 plus 1 factorial, okay, times the reciprocal of ak, ak reciprocal እንወስዳለን. So this is 2k plus 1 factorial over pi the power of k times x minus 1 the power of 2k times x the power of 2k ይሆናል ማለት ነው። አሁን እዚህ ጋር የሚጠብቀን ስራ ምንድነው? we need to simplify. ብዙ similar terms ስላሉ simplify ማድረግ ይጠበቅብናል. So the simplified form of this expression gives us the limit of in the absolute value pi over 2k plus 3 times x square into x minus 1 the whole square as k approaches to infinity. Okay, ሊሚታችንን as k approaches to infinity ነው የምንሰራው. so እዚህ ጋር observe የምናደርገው k ከታች ነው ያለው. so as k becomes big and big, this limit becomes 0. ይሄ ሊሚት 0 ነው የሚሆነው ምክንያቱም ሌሎቹን እንደ ኮንስታንት ስለምናስብ. so the limit of this ratio is 0, which is always less than 1. Okay, for all x an element of real number, ይሄንን ratio the limit of this ratio ስንሰራ 0 ነው የሚሆነው x የፈለገውም ቢሆን። so ይሄ ምን ይነግረናል ማለት ነው? the power series converges for every x ማለት ነው። so converges for all x an element of real number. okay, so ምንድነው ማለት ነው? ይሄ የሚነግረን radius of convergence አችን ኢንፋይናይት ነው ማለት ነው። ኢንተርቫል ኦፍ ኮንቨርጀንስ አችንም -infinity to infinity ነው የሚሆነው ማለት ነው። ሶ አራተኛ ጥያቄ ውስጥ ከa እስከ f ያለውን ወደ 6 ፓወር ሲሪስ ሬዲየስ ኦፍ ኮንቨርጀንሱን እና ኢንተርቫል ኦፍ ኮንቨርጀንሱን አሳይቻችኋለሁ። you can do similarly for the rest of the power series. Thank you for watching.